Elena Parker was raised to be perfect. Every move rehearsed. Every smile measured. Her mother, Vivian, believed control was love. Her father, Pastor Michael Parker, believed obedience was faith. Elena learned early that silence kept peace. She dressed the way her mother approved. She spoke only when spoken to. Her life was a performance inside a glass box. Every gesture designed to reflect her mother's ambition. When Daniel Hayes appeared, the illusion grew stronger. He was handsome, ambitious, and connected. The son of Judge Holloway, a man of influence. Vivian saw destiny in that surname. "This is your future, Elena," she said. Elena smiled as she always did. She nodded as she always did. Daniel's proposal came during an opera at the Kennedy Center. The crowd applauded. Her mother cried perfect tears. Her father smiled with quiet pride. Elena said yes, because no other word existed. The ring sparkled under the stage light. Tiny rainbows flickered across her trembling hand. Everyone called her blessed. Inside, she felt hollow. Wedding plans began the next morning. Vivian arrived with binders, color palettes, and rules. No wildflowers. No lace that wasn't imported. No opinions that weren't hers. Elena nodded and took notes. Her thoughts belonged to someone else. The dressmaker measured her ribs and whispered, "Breathe." Elena couldn't. Every fitting felt like a reminder. The tighter the dress, the smaller she became. Daniel rarely called anymore. He was busy with court cases. Vivian said that was a good sign. Ambitious men don't have time for small talk. Elena tried to believe her. At night, she practiced smiling in the mirror. She counted her breaths to fall asleep. She dreamed of running barefoot through rain. In the morning, she woke to to-do lists. Her phone filled with messages from her mother. Final seating chart. Judge Holloway's colleagues must sit in the front row. The guest count repeated 3 times. Vivian liked control disguised as concern. Her father stayed silent through it all. He preached peace at church and practiced it at home. Elena wondered if peace meant pretending. Sometimes she caught her reflection and didn't recognize it. The girl in the mirror wore Vivian's taste. Vivian's hairstyle. Vivian's future. Daniel texted less. When they met, he kissed her forehead like a habit. His blue eyes no longer looked at her, only through her. But everyone said he was perfect. And perfection was her only language. She told herself love grows with time. She told herself mothers always know best. She told herself not to question blessings. Underneath those lies, something inside her began to stir. A quiet resistance. A pulse of doubt. She started writing in secret. Small notes hidden inside a drawer. Things she wanted. Things she feared. A single sentence repeated on one page. "I wish I had the courage to stop pretending." The ink smeared when she touched it. But the words stayed. Even in silence, truth had begun to breathe. 2 days before the wedding, the illusion cracked. Elena drove to her mother's house to drop off decorations. Vivian had forgot her phone again. It was nothing unusual. Elena opened the car door and saw a leather journal on the seat. The gold initials, VP, glimmered faintly in the sunlight. Her mother's handwriting filled every page in neat blue ink. She told herself not to look. Curiosity whispered louder. She opened to a random page. The first sentence stole her breath. "Daniel said he will tell her after the honeymoon." Her eyes blurred as she read again. Each line tightened around her chest. The words were not random thoughts. They were confessions. Plans. Memories. Her mother's words described secret meetings at hotels. Gifts exchanged behind closed doors. Promises whispered in the dark. Elena read the line that changed everything. "When she's busy with her editing job, we'll have our own story." Her stomach turned to ice. She flipped through more pages. Bank withdrawals, dinner reservations, mentions of our place at the Jefferson Hotel. She found Daniel's name again and again. Vivian's script looped around his initials like a lover's sigh. Elena's hands shook so hard she dropped the book. It fell open on the car floor, face up like evidence. Her phone rang. Vivian's name flashed on the screen. "Elena, my journal is missing," her mother said. Her voice carried a sharp edge. "Bring it back immediately. It's private." Elena stared at the pages. "Yes, mother," she said quietly. "Very private indeed." She hung up before Vivian could answer. For a long moment, she sat still. Her reflection stared back from the windshield. The woman in the glass looked nothing like her. Tears burned, but anger burned hotter. She scrolled through her photos and messages. There it was, Daniel's location sharing. Every Tuesday afternoon, the same hotel. Every pattern lined up with the journal entries. She opened their joint wedding account online. Money missing. Large purchases at Vivian's favorite boutiques. A diamond bracelet. A dinner for two at the Jefferson. Her pulse roared in her ears. She took pictures of everything. Each screenshot felt like armor. Each discovery like a knife. For hours she sat in silence, the truth spreading through her veins. The life she defended no longer existed. Her mother's voice echoed in memory. Family comes first. Now those words sounded like a curse. When the sun set, she gathered the evidence in neat order. Photos. Bank records. The journal. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel's text appeared on the screen. "Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle." She typed and erased the same reply 10 times. Then she turned the phone face down. Her reflection glimmered faintly in the glass. The tremor in her hands was gone. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid. The truth had already chosen her. That night, Elena didn't go home. She drove without direction until the city lights blurred. Every streetlight looked like a question she couldn't answer. At midnight, she stopped at the Four Seasons. She gave a false name at the front desk. "Ellen Barry," she said, voice steady. She paid in cash and asked for a quiet room. The clerk didn't ask why she had no luggage. Inside the room, silence felt alive. She locked the door twice. Her phone vibrated endlessly. Her mother. Daniel. Both names flashing, unanswered. She placed the journal on the table. The truth sat there like a bomb. For hours, she reread the pages. Every line carved deeper into her heart. She listed everything she had lost. Trust. Family. The version of herself who believed in them. At dawn, she called Harper. Her old roommate. An investigative journalist with no fear of consequences. "Bring your recorder," Elena said. "Please don't ask why." Harper arrived 20 minutes later. No makeup, just focus. She studied the evidence in silence. Finally, she looked up. "I believe you," she said. No hesitation. Elena's throat tightened. Someone finally believed her. Harper began photographing each page. Bank slips. Messages. Screenshots. Everything that told the story behind the wedding. Elena sat on the bed, wrapping her arms around herself. "I can't walk down that aisle," she whispered. Harper stopped. "Then don't. It's not that simple." "It is," Harper said. "Either you live their lie, or you tell your truth." The words hung heavy in the room. Elena imagined the faces waiting at the church. Her father. The congregation. The people who thought perfection was holiness. What would they say when she shattered it all? She opened the curtains. Morning sunlight flooded in. It burned, but it felt clean. She started organizing everything into folders. One for the church. One for the press. One for Judge Holloway's colleagues. Harper watched quietly. You're turning your pain into evidence, she said. Maybe that's the only way to survive, Elena answered. She printed copies at the hotel business center. The clerk didn't ask questions. When she returned to her room, her phone buzzed again. A new voicemail from her mother. My sweet girl, let's talk. Don't ruin everything. Elena deleted it mid-sentence. Her hands no longer shook. Her fear had turned into precision. She wrote a single sentence in her notebook. Tomorrow, the truth will walk down the aisle with me. Then she placed the pen beside the evidence. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had changed. Inside that room, Elena's life had already begun again. Morning crept in through the hotel curtains. Elena hadn't slept. Her coffee sat untouched, cold and bitter. She read the journal again, tracing each cruel sentence. Her heart no longer broke, it hardened. The phone rang at 7. Her father's name appeared on the screen. She hesitated, then answered. Elena, your mother is worried sick, he said. Where are you? I'm safe, she replied. He sighed, the sound of years of restraint. Whatever disagreement you two had, it can wait until after the wedding. It can't, she said quietly. There was silence. Elena, what's going on? She took a deep breath. Tomorrow, at the church, be ready for the truth. The truth about what? For once, you'll see who she really is. Her father didn't respond. The silence felt heavier than anger. When he finally spoke, his voice was thin. Please, don't make a scene. Your mother, she means well. Does she? Elena's voice didn't tremble. She's been sleeping with Daniel. The words hung in the air like smoke. Her father's breath caught. Elena, that's impossible. Read the journal, Dad. It's all there. She sent him photos before he could protest. He didn't hang up. He didn't speak. Minutes passed before he whispered, Oh, God. She heard papers rustling on the other end. His disbelief turned into something quieter. Grief. 35 years of marriage collapsing in a single morning. Elena, he said finally, what are you going to do? I'm going to tell the truth. Publicly. Yes. You'll destroy everything. I'm done protecting lies. Her father's voice broke. The church will suffer, the family name. Dad, she interrupted softly. I've spent my life protecting their image, not anymore. He was silent again. Then came the sound of resolve. If you speak, I'll stand beside you. Her throat tightened. You don't have to. I do, he said firmly. A man who preaches truth can't hide from it. For the first time in years, she believed him. When the call ended, she sat in silence. The weight in her chest lifted slightly. Harper walked in, holding 2 coffees. How'd it go? Elena smiled faintly. My father finally saw her. And he's walking me down the aisle. Harper blinked. You're still going. Oh, I'm going, Elena said. But not to marry. They shared a long, quiet look. Outside, the city kept its rhythm. Inside, Elena's plan solidified. She rehearsed her words in the mirror. Calm. Measured. Unshakable. She printed her final statement. 3 sentences that would end one life and begin another. By sunset, she packed her evidence in a single envelope. She slipped it into her clutch. Tomorrow, the church would witness more than vows. It would witness a reckoning. The church smelled of lilies and perfume. Elena arrived early, before anyone else. Her dress hung perfectly, tight across her ribs. The ivory silk felt heavier than truth. Harper waited near the side aisle with her camera. For documentation only, she had said. Elena nodded. Today, everything would be documented. Her father entered quietly, carrying the journal. He looked older, smaller somehow. I read it all, he said softly. Elena met his eyes. And he swallowed hard. Your mother has built her world on appearances. It ends today. She took his hand. He squeezed it, steady and warm. Then I'll walk you down that aisle, he said. The organ began to play. Guests turned their heads in admiration. They saw a radiant bride. They didn't see the storm behind her calm. Each step echoed through the vaulted hall. Her father whispered, "Remember who you are." She nodded. At the altar, Daniel waited with his polished smile. His blue eyes glimmered under the stained glass light. He reached for her hand. She didn't take it. Reverend Harris began the ceremony. Words about faith, love, and sacred trust. Each one struck like a hammer. Her pulse slowed to match the rhythm of the organ. "If anyone objects to this union," the Reverend said, "speak now or forever hold your peace." Elena stepped forward. "I can." The room froze. Her voice carried perfectly through the church. Daniel's smile vanished. Vivian rose from the front pew, face pale. "My daughter is under stress," she said quickly. "She's confused." Elena held up the leather journal. Confused. She opened it to the marked pages. "Maybe you can explain these." Gasps rippled across the congregation. Daniel's face drained of color. Vivian reached out a trembling hand. "Darling, not here," she pleaded. Elena ignored her. Her father stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "Sit down, Vivian." No one had ever heard him speak like that. The church fell silent. Elena began reading aloud. Her mother's handwriting filled the space like poison. Each sentence another nail in the coffin of pretense. "I loved you both," Elena said finally. "But love without truth is rot." She turned to Daniel. "You lied to me, to everyone." He stammered, "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." She removed her ring slowly. The diamond caught the light, sharp and cold. She placed it on the Bible. Vivian moved closer, desperate. "You can't do this. Think of our reputation." Elena lifted her veil and handed it to her. "You wanted to be the bride so badly, Mother. Here's your chance." The church gasped. Daniel lunged forward. Her father blocked him, hand firm on his chest. "Not another word," he said. Elena turned, silk brushing against the aisle. One by one, the guests stood in silence. She reached the door, sunlight flooding in. She looked back once. "I hope you find happiness behind my back," she said. "I'll find mine in the open." Then she walked away, leaving perfection in ruins. 6 months passed. The city of Philadelphia hummed beneath Elena's window. Her new apartment smelled of coffee and paper. Stacks of manuscripts covered the desk. She was now senior editor at Phoenix Press. No one here knew her as the runaway bride. They only knew her as the woman who spoke clearly. She wore no ring, no disguise, no expectations. Her days began with ideas instead of instructions. Her laughter came easier. Her silence no longer meant fear. The office walls held color she chose herself. A bright yellow chair. Books her mother once called unrefined. Now they lined the shelves proudly. Her team respected her opinions. When she spoke, people listened. "The first chapter lacks truth," she said during meetings. Her voice was calm, steady, and sure. The woman who once trembled in ivory silk no longer existed. Sometimes she caught her reflection in the glass. The same eyes, but sharper. The same mouth, but freer. The same soul, finally hers. Her father called every Sunday. He had taken a small church outside the city. Their talks were gentle, filled with real warmth. They never mentioned Vivian. Not yet. Maybe someday. Harper visited often. They laughed about things that once made them cry. "You realize you started a movement," Harper joked. Elena smiled. "I just told the truth." At night she wrote. Pages of her own story, no longer hidden in drawers. The title came easily, The Wedding I Never Needed. Her words were raw, honest, and alive. Publishers were already interested. She wasn't writing for revenge. She was writing for release. One evening, she attended the opera again. The same hall where Daniel had proposed. The same aria filled the air. This time, the music didn't hurt. It felt like closure. A man with silver hair sat beside her. "Beautiful performance," he said. She smiled, unguarded. "Yes," she replied. "The conductor gives the silence room to breathe." He looked surprised by her insight. They talked until the lights dimmed. No expectations. No pretending. Just presence. The next morning, she stood before 200 women. It was the annual Women's Writing Conference. "The most powerful story you'll ever tell is your own," she said. Her voice carried to the back of the room. "Sometimes the happy ending isn't a wedding. Sometimes it's walking away from one." The audience applauded, some with tears. Afterward, a young writer asked, "Do you think you'll ever marry again?" Elena touched the small silver pendant at her neck. It read, "Truth endures." "I haven't closed that door," she said. "But now, I know the difference between love and rescue." Later that night, she sat by her window with tea. Her phone buzzed with a new message from her father. "Breakfast tomorrow, your choice of place." She smiled softly. The world outside glowed golden and alive. She didn't need perfection anymore. She had peace. The morning sun spilled across her desk. Elena stirred her coffee, watching the steam curl upward. Her manuscript lay open beside her notebook. The final line read, "Freedom is not leaving, it's choosing." She smiled, tracing the ink with her fingertip. Outside, the city moved quietly, unaware of her peace. Her phone buzzed once, a message from her mother. Just a single word, "Sorry." Elena didn't reply. Not yet. She closed her eyes and let the silence answer for her. Some wounds didn't need to be reopened. Some truths simply needed time to rest. She slipped her phone into a drawer and picked up her pen. Another story waited to be written. Not about betrayal. Not about survival. About becoming. Her father's laughter echoed faintly in memory. Harper's voice lingered in her thoughts. "You did it," she had said. Elena whispered back to no one, "Yes, I did." Outside, church bells rang in the distance. Once, they had sounded like endings. Now, they sounded like beginnings.